G'day YouTube, Max right here, and today we are talking Ethereum and what is a realistic price prediction for the Ethereum price at the top of this 2021 market. We've got the Winklevoss twins throwing numbers around as high as $75,000 for Ethereum, and not necessarily in 21, but in the near future. And we've got other people calling for highs of 6,000, 7,000, 10,000, and everywhere in between. We're going to take a deep dive into Ethereum today, look at the pros and cons, compare it to the previous cycles, and see where this can end up. And hopefully by the end of this video, you'll have a pretty good idea of exactly where the Ethereum price can end up in the year 2021. So one of the ways that I'm going to be doing this analysis is I'm going to be comparing it to Bitcoin and to previous cycles. So a little bit of historical perspective here. In, I think it was about May, June, July of 2017, the Ethereum price hit 15% of Bitcoin. Okay, and that was in the middle of a governance crisis for Bitcoin. Mining fees skyrocketed, and Bitcoin was just in a huge amount of trouble. The price of Bitcoin fell a lot. The price of Bitcoin was going up because of the ICO craze, and it hit 15%. Things got settled down in Bitcoin, and then in January 2018, just after the December 2017 peak of Bitcoin, Bitcoin hits 12%. All right, so they're the two it's two peaks in 2017 and early 2018, 15% of Bitcoin price and 12% of the Bitcoin price. So we're going to be using those as kind of benchmarks. And what I want to think through this problem in this way is comparing 2017 to 2018. So what I'm going to do is first of all, I'll take the bearish case for Ethereum, and it's the bearish case of the bullish case. Let me explain what I mean by that. I'm going to assume, I think that it's probably pretty likely that Ethereum remains the number 2 altcoin throughout all of 2021. Yeah, it is. It does have competitors now. There is Cardano and EOS and a whole slew of others. And so it's possible that it may not be the second altcoin. But I'm suggesting that it probably will be the second altcoin. And this is forbidding some catastrophic event in the Ethereum world that allows some other chain to eat its lunch, that Ethereum is still the number 2 coin. So it's a bearish case, but we're going to take a look at it's a bullish case, but what's the bearish case within that case? And so let's make some comparisons to 2017. So why did the price of Ethereum reach as high as 15 and 12% of the Bitcoin price in 2017? I've got some points down here. I'm going to go through them. 2017 was a bad year for Bitcoin, believe it or not. It obviously, every 4 years of the cycle, it has its explosive move, and 2017 was Bitcoin's explosive move, capping out at $20,000. But I have long suspected that it was a weak year for Bitcoin. Bitcoin had a lot of trouble that year, and what we're seeing in early 2021 is some validation. Thank you, motorcycle. Is some validation that thesis is correct. The theory is that the Bitcoin price is very regressive. All right, it's increasing at a slower rate year by year, and I want to put out there that perhaps that's not the case, and I've done that in other videos about the Bitcoin price, but it's entirely possible that 2021 could be an even more exciting year than 2017 was, because of the factors that I'm about to share with you right now. And a lot of people will forget those, but 2017 was in fact a rough year for Bitcoin. So number one, Bitcoin had a huge governance issue. There was a crisis in the Bitcoin world. The Bitcoin network was getting to capacity. The Bitcoin community had anticipated this for many, many years. We had discussed many, many different options, and 2 options had come to the fore. And basically the community was split in 2. And they debated, and they could not get consensus, and analysis through paralysis, they did nothing. And during that time, the network hit capacity, and Bitcoin fees skyrocketed, making it a lot less useful for its then intended purpose as a new monetary system, a new way to make payments, a payments rail. And from that moment, basically Bitcoin has become gold 2.0. That narrative has been abandoned, that Bitcoin Core is a payments rail, and it's become gold 2.0. It's become the new pristine reserve asset. And so that's a very, very important shift that happened in 2017. But as one that, when it happened, that governance crisis, I think very much muted the 2017 explosion in price. And I think we would have seen much higher Bitcoin prices had that not have happened. So a few things happened. Bitcoin went through a governance crisis. The mining fees shot up on Bitcoin. And there was a Bitcoin forking. Because of this crisis, communities were split and Bitcoin Cash was created, and in subsequent months and years, several other side chains were created. And all that arguably diluted the effectiveness of Bitcoin. So to know the true value of Bitcoin, really you should add the price of Bitcoin to the price of Bitcoin Cash to the price of all the other different Bitcoins that came after it. Because any stakeholder at that time got all those other coins. So just by that rationale, Bitcoin actually got a lot higher than the 19,000 that is quoted, but the nearly 19,700 depending on the exchange. So yeah, Bitcoin's price was muted and had all kinds of trouble. At the same time, Ethereum found its first use case and its little niche in the world, which was the ICO craze. So the initial coin offering craze that happened in 2017, if you remember it, any 18-year-old kid with an 8-page white paper and a slick website that took him an hour to make was raising tens of millions of dollars, millions. It was just insane, and the whole thing was run on the Ethereum network. That made that whole ICO craze run. And so at the same time, you have Bitcoin having all of these problems. You have Ethereum having all of the finding its little niche in the world, which is the ICO craze. So what that would suggest is that during 2017, when Ethereum hit 15% and 12% of the Bitcoin price, it did it under very, very kind conditions for Ethereum. Both Bitcoin was suffering and Ethereum found its place in the world. And so maybe those prices of 15 to 20% back then were over-exaggerated, and maybe right now, today, Ethereum sits at about 3.5% of the price of Bitcoin, and maybe it only gets up in this cycle to 5% of the price of Bitcoin, or 6, or 7, or 8, or something like that. So that is something to consider. Okay, now let's flip over and let's take the bullish case for Ethereum, the bullish case within the bullish case of Ethereum. So how are things better than 2017 for Ethereum? Well, let's go back to the Bitcoin case because I'm still working on the percentages from Bitcoin. The Bitcoin governance issue, it's entirely possible the Bitcoin governance issue happens again. It's not something that was ever actually resolved. It was there was an issue came up. It caused a governance problem. There were forks and headaches, but Bitcoin doesn't have a good and effective governance model. It's entirely possible that something like that could happen again in 2021, although I don't think so. We had heads up of the previous crisis for many, many years. We knew that the Bitcoin network was going to get to capacity, and so it's very, very possible that this happens again in Bitcoin, although I don't think it's likely. But we know with 100% certainty it happened in 2017. With some lower probability than that, it may happen again in 2021. So there can still be Bitcoin forks, there can still be Bitcoin mining fee issues. Those things can happen, but with certainty they happened in 2017. There are only maybes in 2020. And with the new narrative of Bitcoin, Bitcoin Gold, Bitcoin is Gold 2.0. Hedge funds who buy $1 billion worth of Bitcoin don't really give a shit if the mining fees are $10 to move their Bitcoin into cold storage for 10 years. It doesn't matter. So I don't think those issues are going to come up this cycle, which means a very, very exciting time for Bitcoin. As I've said in other videos, I think 2021 could be even more exciting than 2017. Time will tell. Okay, so you have that. All right, over to the Ethereum case. What's happening in the Ethereum world? And the answer is a lot of very, very cool things. So last time it found its little niche in the world with one little use case. It was the ICO, right? This time we have DeFi. Just billions of dollars locked up in DeFi. It's over $20 billion now locked up in DeFi. This time last year it was like 500 million, I think. So an absolute explosion in the world of DeFi. We've got non-fungible tokens. We have so many different use cases for the smart contract system that Ethereum offers that any one of those things work. We're talking about a lot of the price of Ethereum could really, really take over, not necessarily an absolute value of Bitcoin, but maybe even exceed 12 to 15% of the Bitcoin price. Okay, and what happens if all of those things take off all at once? They all start gaining traction. That is a very, very, very exciting case for Ethereum where that can happen. Next, you've got Ethereum 2.0. So Ethereum does have arguably a superior governance model than Bitcoin. It too knows that these the fees, the Ethereum fees, the gas fees on the Ethereum network are going up. It's got in place a plan and a roadmap, and that is Ethereum 2.0. And as we sit here, January 2021, we know that those things are in place, and I believe that the development chains are already produced, and they're hoping for a release, as soon as in the next few months for Ethereum 2.0. Now, there's several phases of this solution. It might take the whole year to come out, and so there's also a downside case that with any kind of tech, the development, it just can take, it almost always does take longer than you think. And if it's at a time when the networks are exploding and the 2021 Bitcoin and cryptocurrency craze is on, and the network just has so much pressure put on it during that time to be doing that pressure, that development, does it come out in time? Do the gas fees spike so much that a lot of these smart contracts become broken and unsustainable, and let's say the word is inefficient, they're prohibitively expensive to run, then that would really take away from Ethereum's momentum, and that could be the crisis that we're talking about that maybe lets Cardano or some other chain shine. So sorry, I deviated into a bearish case there, but it's a very positive thing in that there's so many good things happening in Ethereum. But it does have 2.0 on the way. There is a roadmap there, and it's coming, and that's very, very exciting. Next is staking. So Ethereum did not have staking in the past, and now Ethereum does. And staking is a tremendous thing to boost the price of something, where people are encouraged to put their money into staking, lock up their coins for several years, and it massively reduces the amount of supply for people wanting to buy in those years, right? So it's the equivalent of people putting it in cold storage in Bitcoin, but at any point, if you change your mind, you could pull it out of cold storage and sell. With staking, you cannot, and you are encouraged, financially rewarded for doing that staking. So that's a very, very cool thing that Ethereum has going for it this time. And the other one that I think is an important vector to mention is the incredible intellectual capacities around Ethereum that is plugged into that network and working around it, trying to make it work. There's just a lot. The Bitcoin core team is a relatively small team, and we know the Bitcoin core is going to move at a snail's pace, and I think that's okay. That's its lot in the world. As a reserve asset, I think that's what you would want. The Ethereum network is more experimental, and people are doing it. So I think it does have a bigger core team. Bitcoin obviously has a massive layer 2 team with lots of different Bitcoin projects going on, but so too does Ethereum. And so Ethereum has a lot of things going on. And then there is another big thing, which is 2021 the year of interoperability between multiple chains? And if so, Ethereum is going to be clutch in that world as a central component to making that work. And if we can get interoperability first among the smart chains and then possibly including the Bitcoins of the world, that could very much see Ethereum go absolutely ballistic. So they're all the main bullet points I see for Ethereum from a bearish perspective, from a bullish perspective. And so now we get ourselves to the point is, okay, where, Max, do you think the Ethereum price is going to end up? And I think it's reasonable to set, I think a good solid, and I don't do safe bets. I'm not going to say 4 or 5% or whatever. I generally say what I think is going to happen, the exact middle of the bell curve. So it could go higher, could go lower, but most people do a conservative one. If you say Ethereum's going to like whatever $10,000, you're going to look great no matter what, because it's a nice safe bet or whatever. So I don't do that. I tell you exactly what I think is going to happen. I'm equal opportunity of being high or low. I think it's pretty reasonable to think that Ethereum could get or will get to around 8 to 9% of the Bitcoin price this year. 8 to 9% at its peak. So now the question becomes, in order to work out an Ethereum price, I have to know also what my Bitcoin price is. Now, I've made lots of videos about this, and I've got ranges basically ranging from 300,000 to, if there's not much that goes on, or if there's a major bank failure or something like that this year, I think Bitcoin will get to $500,000. But let's just work off that 300,000 one. So if Bitcoin got to 10% of the 300,000, if Ethereum got to 10% of Bitcoin's 300,000, that would be Ethereum would get around about $30,000. Now I said $8,000 to $9,000. Let's cut that down to $24,000 to $27,000. But also, does Ethereum necessarily hit that peak at the same time that Bitcoin hits its peak? And the answer is no, probably not. It's probably not in that exact minute that happens. Okay, so you put all those into an equation, wave some magic dust over the top of it, and come up with a price target. I think somewhere in the order of a $20,000 Ethereum could be where we get to by the end of 2021, or at some point during 2021. It could peak a little bit before the end of the year. So at some point during 2021, I think an aggressive price target for Ethereum is around about $20,000. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Did you think it was going to be lower? Did you think it was going to be higher? What do you think the Ethereum price will get to in 2021? Can't wait to hear that your thoughts. Guys, whatever you do, make sure you subscribe to this channel. Lots of crypto news, lots of technical analysis, lots of fun stuff. Bitcoin, Ethereum, the lot. Please like this video, share it, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in another video soon.